Ms. Terrian Thomas Gale, Chief Education Officer, Acting, Dr. Adrian Stokes, Chairman, Education Transformation Oversight Committee, ETOC, Mrs. Sophia Forbes Hall, Chief Education Transformation Officer, Acting, members of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, members of the Ministry's Executive Management Committee, Ms. Nicole Brown, Project Lead Transformation Officer, members of the media, and to everyone joining us on MOEY, JIS, and PBCJ social media platforms at YouTube and Facebook. I'm Ruth Ann Carr, your moderator, and I am the Director of Communications and Public Relations within the Ministry of Education and Youth. Good morning and welcome to the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, ETOC, Quarterly Press Conference. ETOC is a multi-stakeholder body that monitors and oversees the implementation of the Ministry of Education and Youth's reformation process. This reformation is geared towards transforming education for national development trend, which will improve performance at every level within the education sector. The 8-year process started in 2023, and by 2031, we'd have achieved our goal. Today, we share with you the progress we have made thus far, and we start with an overview by Dr. Adrian Stokes, our chairman of the ETOC committee.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth Ann Carr, our moderator for today. Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, Minister Smith, Marcia Smith, Dr. Troop, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Education, Mrs. Terrian Thomas Gale, Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Sophia Forbes Hall, the Chief Education Transformation Officer Acting, members of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, members of the Executive Management Team at the Ministry, Ms. Nicole Brown, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, pleasant good morning. I would like to, first and foremost, just get going here. I'd like to recognize and commend the members of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, or ETOC for short. These persons have been providing excellent oversight to the Ministry of Education as we carry out our mandate to improve governance around the execution of the recommendations made in the Reform of Education in Jamaica 2021 report, or what is sometimes referred to as the Patterson Report. So I really want to commend the members of ETOC. Before I report on the progress made for the current period, I would like to highlight the cultural changes, I call them, taking place at the Ministry of Education to support the ongoing transformation process. From my interaction with the senior leadership team at the ministry on a weekly basis, there has been a significant acceptance of the transformation process. Among the senior leadership team, there is a big push to execute the recommendations of the report. And I need to mention that because we have heard feedback from previous encounters or attempts to transform education. And one reason oftentimes cited for a lack of implementation is that there wasn't this buy-in at the ministry. But so far, we're seeing a significant alignment, a significant buy-in from the senior leadership team at the ministry. Now, change is difficult, and changes that are to be made to the education sector are far-reaching and will take a complete, what I would call, attitudinal shift to ensure sustainability and to ensure that we produce the improvement in education outcomes we all strive for. But having the right persons on what I call the proverbial bus is very important to ensure we arrive at our destination on time and with a high degree of quality. I am happy to communicate today that change is on the way, and we at ETOC are committed to see this transformation process through to a successful conclusion. Of the 365 recommendations from the Patterson report, work has begun on 129 initiatives, 94 initiatives from the previous year and 35 from the current period. The overall progress on the transformation plan is 15%, a 2 percentage points increase over the prior reporting period. I am happy to report as well that all of the 129 initiatives being worked on are on track. This is a credible performance by the ministry, and I would like to acknowledge this strong showing for the current reporting period. It is important to note that the 4 initiatives that we reported as lagging at our last briefing are now on track. The NEI reports are now publicly available, and the ministry is now publishing financial information on schools that are funded from the public purse. In addition, the implementation of EMIS, or the Education Management Information System, is moving forward. Importantly, more resources are being channeled to the early childhood level in line with one of our key priorities for this transformation project, which is to fundamentally transform our early childhood sector. I want to say something about the accuracy of the data being utilized to produce these reports to the public. As discussed in previous press conferences, there's a very well-developed project management framework in place around the current transformation exercise. Very important framework to monitor and track the implementation of the initiatives. Importantly, the project management system that is being used to manage a project, software called Asana, provides, importantly, an audit trail that improves governance and integrity. This goes to the heart of the project management process, ensuring there is data integrity that serves as a foundation for accurate and timely reporting. Let me move to provide some important highlights of the transformation work to date. And I want to start by giving a snapshot of some of what is happening under the early childhood pillar. The ministry is working to finalize and implement the early childhood development policy. This is now 35% complete. A thorough review of the policy is being conducted with full implementation slated for early 2026. But Minister, I'm wondering if this is not something that can be done faster. And perhaps it's something that we need to look at if it's a matter of resources, how we can bring this critical initiative forward. Special education support at the EC level. This is now 50% complete. Currently, shadow support is provided for over 80 children, with the ministry looking to bolster that number over time. Training of teachers is now 33% complete. This is clearly a big priority for the transformation work being done. Progress is being made as it relates to STEM training, and more resources and avenues are being created to bolster teacher training. TVET, providing adequate funding to TVET programs. Again, good progress is being made here. Approximately $400 million have been obtained from the Hart Trust, of which $200 million have been provided to schools so far. In the area of infrastructure, under the National Education Trust, $2 billion have been allocated to several infrastructure projects that will improve the physical state of our schools and provide a more comfortable environment for our kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to touch on the critical area of communication. A lot of work is going on at the ministry to transform how it communicates to its various stakeholders around education initiatives. It is very easy to lose an external focus and for us to forget who we are working for, that is the Jamaican people. In other words, it is very important that there is a robust and effective communication strategy that targets all Jamaicans. A strategy that is deliberate about utilizing various communication avenues to reach the different segments of our population. The Trend campaign has done a lot to highlight the work that's been done to transform our education system. Several events have been hosted, many different media forms have been engaged, and a number of fun and easy to follow communication initiatives have been executed by the ministry. Trend has different phases. The first phase was to bring broad awareness to the transformation effort. From the empirical data so far, it is clear that the ministry is achieving its initial objective of broad awareness for the transformation effort. The second phase of Trend is to bring a deeper understanding of the actual work being done to transform education. For example, to explain what's been done to improve literacy and numeracy in Jamaica. I encourage all Jamaicans to pay close attention to what's coming out of the ministry as it relates to Trend, so that you can actively engage the process with a view to contribute to this big national push to improve education in Jamaica. In any project, understanding your baseline and setting effective targets are essential to achieving success. The obvious question for this implementation push is, how do we measure success? Clearly, transformation is only effective if it leads to a massive improvement in key education performance indicators. There are several KPIs that have been established to measure success. At the most basic level, we need to materially increase the number of students that are numerate and literate. Literacy and numeracy are prerequisites for wider education success. the government has a big thrust to make Jamaica a STEM standout in the region. A key component of this puzzle is for us to achieve excellence in mathematics. Therefore, a lot is being done to strengthen the mathematics program nationally. The ministry is currently revising key aspects of the program to ensure important gaps are eliminated. More will be said about this going forward. I would like to conclude my remarks by thanking the Minister, Minister Williams, Favour Williams, also PS Troop, and the leadership team at the ministry for working in a very collaborative and transparent manner with ETOC as we seek to execute our governance mandate. There's a long road ahead of us as we seek to implement the recommendations of the Patterson Report in a sustainable way. As stated earlier, there's very strong implementation of the recommendations to date, and I really want to reiterate that and to congratulate the ministry. Still, there's a lot to do. We have just started to really push on. It is very important that as we implement the recommendations, we can point to success along the journey. And this is the next key initiative or key point that we need to ensure is achieved. Success, showing critical success along the journey. It's vitally important to ensure we avoid what I call implementation fatigue and show that early success so that we can rally the support of all Jamaicans behind the transformation effort. To the Jamaican people, again, we are committed to this vital work that is ongoing to improve educational outcomes in Jamaica. And once again, let me thank the members of ETOC for their dedication and service so far. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Stokes, for that overview. And I just want to say that we have a number of our media partners joining online, and we encourage you to post your question or pose your questions in the chat when we get to the question and answer segment that's coming up shortly. But for now, we'll have a presentation by Mrs. Sophia Forbes Hall, Chief Transformation Officer, who will give us updates on the recommendations addressed in Year 2, Quarter 1.
The Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, Dr. Adrian Stokes, Chairman of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, and other committee members, Mrs. Terran Thomas-Gale, Chief Education Officer Acting, the Executive Management Team of the Ministry of Education and Youth, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen in the audience and in the virtual spaces, good morning. The Ministry of Education and Youth embarked on its transformation agenda with a total of 365 recommendations from the Jamaica Education Transformation Commission's report of 2021 in creating a roadmap for an efficient, viable, and results-based education system. 101 recommendations were identified for implementation within the first year of the transformation process, commencing in April 2023 to March 2024. At the end of the last reporting period, an assessment of the outputs in relation to each of the 101 recommendations and the activities and projects in relation to each showed that 4 projects were lagging, 91 were active and progressing well, while 6 projects were completed in accordance with their expected timelines and completion rates. In so doing, a treatment plan was established this quarter to address the 4 projects that lagged within the initial reporting period. The interventions changed the status of each of these projects to 3 being placed back on track and 1 deemed complete. There is no project assigned as at year 2 that is evaluated as lagging. This report concerns the first quarter of year 2, that is April to June 2024. There are 35 additional recommendations that are being implemented in year 2 across the 4 quarters. The ministry has continued implementation and monitoring of 91 recommendations in progress from year 1, as well as 3 recommendations that are in progress as a result of their changed status from lagging. Please note that as at year 2 of the transformation process, there are 129 recommendations, of which none, 0, is lagging, 94 are progressing, and 7 are deemed fully completed, that is 6 for year 1 and 1 during the first quarter of year 2. We move on to our second slide in demonstration of those 7 recommendations that were achieved. So the report indicated that the recommendation make public reports on school, financial, academic, and NEI reports is achieved, and that is our single recommendation transferred from our previous reporting period. Implement an Education Management Information System, EMIS. We're happy to report that project is now on track. Implement measures to improve the quality of pre- and in-service teachers at the early childhood level, and this also is on track. Allocate budgetary resources to the early childhood level that gradually increases to an initial target of 10% of the per capita GDP at the primary level, on track. I want to make a statement on the matter of budgetary resources with respect to the early childhood level. As part of our treatment plan, the ministry embarked on increased funding to our early childhood institution in support of our human resource. As it relates to our primary schools, the ministry embarked on funding our resource and technology program in order to boost our TVET program across the system. And now to our year 2, quarter 1, April to June 2024 updates. The recommendation states the Jamaica Teaching Council Bill is to be enacted. The draft report of the Joint Select Committee is currently under review. The bill is 87% complete. This represents a 2 percentage point increase since the last reporting period. Under the Governance and Accountability, Pillar 1, the recommendation to develop, promote, and embed education philosophy throughout the education system is active. The sensitization and promotion of the national education philosophy continues through the trend consultation sessions as well as discussions with local organizations. All 7 regions benefited from the trend consultations, and these include 4 engagement sessions for chairmen of school boards, 3 engagement sessions for teachers, 2 engagement sessions for principals. The rate of promotion of the national education philosophy is currently at 70%. We intend hereon, ladies and gentlemen, to continue engagements with the private sector, our community groups through the Social Development Commission, as well as our parent organization, specifically the National Parenting Support Commission and the MPTAJ. Governance and accountability with respect to the recommendation that stipulates the review of the Education Act. This activity is 20% complete, a 10% point increase over the last reporting period. Consultations have been done with key stakeholders at this point, and the Cabinet submission is being finalized for approval. Still under the Governance and Accountability, Pillar 1, the recommendation to develop a functioning centralized cloud-based accounting software across all schools, the Government Financial Management System, GFMS. This activity is 22% completed, 2 percentage point increase over our last reporting period. The pilot project is slated to end by August of this year, and participating in this project are 50 schools from Region 6 and 7. A total of 221 of the 250 school personnel have since been trained. And of course, these include our principals, who are our chief accountable officers at the school level, our bursars who are certifiers, and our administrative support staff who has responsibility for inputting the data on the system. Governance and accountability with respect to the training of our school personnel by school level, and we have a secondary at 53%, primary at 41%, and infant at 6% of the total number of persons trained in the pilot. To inculcate a targeted digital transformation and cultural change management process across the ministry, this is an extensive target and expands to several divisions in the Ministry of Education. We work cohesively in order to ensure the successful outcomes of these targets. Let us turn our attention to teacher appraisal process, which is 42% completed. The training of education officers in all regions, spanning regions 1 to 7, in the use of the Zyqual platform has been completed. And this is for the institutionalized teacher appraisal instrument that was established and disseminated in the year 2020. To inculcate a targeted digital transformation cultural train, continuing, we're now looking at the implementation of the MyHR Plus system. 100% fully implemented in the ministry's agencies, divisions, and entities. Just to clarify, that this means that all persons employed at the central ministry, in the regional offices, and all other areas of the Ministry of Education now receive their salary advices via an automated system, and that their salary is now paid via this said system. The migration of payroll data from the IBM is 95% complete and contributes to the full functioning of the MyHR Plus system. The system is being used to ensure on-time payments for all staff within the ministry, central ministry, and our schools. We intend to have a full rollout of this program impacting all our 1,009 schools. Let me just pause to indicate that the ministry has been conducting a pilot with 2 of our largest secondary schools, Campion College and York Castle High School. Campion College is fully on board now in terms of the MyHR Plus implementation, and York Castle is 90% complete. It is our intention in short order to roll out training to the Kingston regional schools, that's Region 1, all secondary schools in Region 1, commencing in July of this year. We're continuing the trend with respect to digital transformation and cultural change management. Let's look at the matter of digitization of personal records for staff in schools, and that, I'm happy to report, is almost complete. So all regions except regions 6 and 4 have fully uploaded records to the automated system. And we, of course, acknowledge that these 2 regions are very populous in that they have populations in large schools that contribute to the delay in the completion of this activity. Continuing our trend on the digital transformation and cultural change management process, let's turn our attention to digitization of human resource processes. Gratuity application process automated, 90% completed. We expect full implementation in July of 2024. Staff recruitment platform as part of the enabling of better human resource systems. This is 90% completed and will be fully implemented in July of 2024. Leave application process digitized at 90% complete and is being piloted at this time. Rollout of the system for the ministry will be done by August of 2024. Under the governance and accountability frame pillar, recommendation to revise the governance guidelines for public school boards asks that we draft minimum standard for board chairmen. We're happy to report, ladies and gentlemen, that this project, which is a very exciting project, is 80% completed. To finalize the implementation of the early childhood development policy, the policy is currently 35% complete, 5 percentage points up from the previous reporting period. To conduct pre- and in-service training for early childhood practitioners, ECPs, under Pillar 2, Early Childhood Education. Well, the training of the ECPs continued for the period under review, resulting in 925 ECPs trained in child abuse and reporting, 1,035 trained in curriculum development, and 126 officers exposed to strategies relating to the evaluation of the early childhood institutions. To equip all primary schools with ICT, and this is one of our most exciting projects in the ministry, as we intend to have all our students trending with us for a brighter tomorrow. The distribution of ICT tools is enabled. This particular project is enabled through public-private partnerships. So through partnership with the e-learning Jamaica, an agency of the Ministry of Education, 757 projectors, 3,000 laptops and security locks have been acquired. 8,000 laptops and security locks are being procured. 757 smart interactive boards are also being procured. Let us turn our attention to one of our key partners in support of this recommendation, the Digicel Foundation. So a signed MOU with the Digicel Foundation for the installation of 2 smart rooms for this year under review at the Black River and Santa Cruz primary infant schools. And we have 9 primary schools slated to benefit, overall bringing the total number of schools to benefit from this initiative to 20 as at today. Let us give some attention to Pillar 3, where it matters, where teaching and learning matters. Teaching curriculum and teacher training recommendation from the JETC stipulates that we enhance the capacity of our in-service teachers at all levels of the education system. Now, this activity is 33% completed to include training opportunities convened by the Jamaica Teaching Council, the ministry's core curriculum and technical and vocational units. The first National Training Day for the 24-25 financial year was held in May, with approximately 25,000 teachers exposed to professional development sessions. And the Professional Training Day is a staple in our schools, where our teachers and our principals and, of course, our staff at the regional office pause to spend some time in the communities of learning. This is a 5 percentage point increase since our presentation to the public last year. Continuing with the capacity building of in-service teachers. The MOEY continues to prioritize the integration of STEM methodologies in the implementation of the National Standards Curriculum at the primary and the secondary levels. We continue to stay true to our vision to ensure that Jamaica becomes and remain a STEM country. Training of 40 teachers from 33 secondary schools in STEAM methodology was achieved for this quarter. Safety and security in schools implemented at all levels. 35% completion of the activities under this initiative, a 5 percentage increase over the last period, and a few of the activities include behavior change management systems, restorative practice programs, as well as parenting sessions. Continuing the safety and security in schools programs. The project concept of the CCTV is being prepared for submission to the Public Investment Appraisal Branch by September 2024. Procurement process has commenced to engage service providers to procure and install CCTV surveillance systems in an additional 7 schools. And the schools to benefit are Norman Manley High, Yallas High, Steertown, Spot Valley, Mayday High, Spanish Town High, Brayton Primary and Infant School, as well as Bustamante High School. Still under Pillar 3, the recommendation to train all school leaders in promoting safety in school. The program expansion is underway through the National College for Educational Leadership, NCEL. To date, 80 additional school leaders have been trained in promoting and maintaining safety in schools. The first cohort has been trained in leadership for safer schools, comprising of 55 school leaders. The second cohort has been trained in child-friendly schools. And of course, this initiative is in partnership with UNICEF. A total of 25 school leaders have benefited, bringing us to 100% in terms of our achievement. The targeted number of school leaders for the quarter have all been trained. Pillar 4, tertiary sector. The recommendation to streamline governance framework for the higher education sector. We're happy to update you that the development of a higher education policy to support the financing of higher education and a legislative framework are ongoing. The cabinet submission is being prepared. Policy development and funding model are at 90% complete, representing a 10 percentage point incremental step over the last period. Still on Pillar 4, the tertiary sector, the recommendation to conduct a comprehensive operational review of publicly funded higher education institutions. Critical analysis of the existing teacher training program has been completed in our teacher training institutions. The report is being prepared for presentation. Preliminary analysis of the operations of the college is completed. Prior learning assessment and recognition framework has been completed, and JTEC is the process owner, an agency of the ministry for this particular initiative. The overall activities account for 10% completion, which is a 5 percentage point increase since the last period. Let's turn our attention to our TVET programs. The recommendation stipulates that the TVET programs be adequately resourced. The second tranche of payment, amounting to $200 million for the financial year 24-25 quarter 1 for schools. Let me share with you the breakout of the allocation and the distribution of this fund. $36 million to support the improvement of existing TVET labs in Ver Technical High School, and of course that lab is being modernized in support of the agri-food processing laboratory. Stony Hill Technical, Electronic Documentation Preparation and Management. Jose Marti Technical, Precision of Agriculture, Internet of Things. Manning School, Digital Animation Graphics. And St. Mary Technical, Modernization of a Renewable Energy Lab. $23.5 million to support the implementation of resource and technology in the primary schools. And this, of course, is in alignment with the ministry's commitment to drive TVET from the lower end of the school level to the upper end. TVET programs adequately resourced, continuing $36.5 million to support the development of exemplary labs in the new school year. And as we prepare our labs, we are interested in ensuring that they are in alignment with industrial type labs and they are compliant with respect to industrial standards. So Frome Technical High School is slated to benefit Fern Court, New Forest, Morant Bay, and Bustamante High School. List of schools and funding allocation for year 2 have been approved. We continue to strengthen the capacity of in-service TVET teachers, and to date, we report that TVET capacity building program overall is 33% complete, with 13 technical and vocational officers trained to conduct the facility audits for TVET program offerings across our schools. TVET teachers to be upskilled across 11 skill areas, and this training will commence in July of 2024. and registration has commenced. Infrastructure, or big ticket item, to implement the initiatives to improve and maintain the quality of school infrastructure. So under the National Education Trust, almost $2 million has been earmarked, and we're showing here that 25 schools are slated to benefit within the period. So we have 5 schools to benefit from completion of infrastructure and handing over by 2024, 3 construction and handing over between October 24 and February 25. 8 schools are have projects in design phase for procurement works. We have 4 construction to commence between July and September 2024. Expansion projects being implemented via the design and build methodology and currently in procurement. We have 2 schools there, and the new facilities are new schools too. And we expect 1 project completion in 23-24, and that's September 23-24. As we continue to improve infrastructure, we wish to point out that our schools are being supported with respect to the security fencing and electrical programs. So 14 schools are slated, 10 schools are slated to benefit from electrical upgrade and security fencing, 11 schools, making that a total of $300 million that has been approved. Technology. Broadband infrastructure, including Wi-Fi and other access points, the JETC indicates should be deployed by the MOE across the island. Expansion of existing Wi-Fi services from the administrative block of a total of 130 schools of the 360 schools that are being prioritized. The entire school plant accounts for phase 1 of the project. Now, the remaining 234 schools will benefit from the expansion of Wi-Fi services to the entire physical plant of the school, and we are committed to having that done by December 2024. 663 or 66% of schools benefited from Wi-Fi access by virtue of the broadband installation wide area network 1. In concluding, ladies and gentlemen, let me point out that of the 35 additional recommendations for the period, all recommendations are active and are progressing in alignment with the project implementation dates and completion rates as indicated by the implementation plan for all 7 pillars. Student achievement remains at the core of the priorities of the Ministry of Education. This priority informs the transformation agenda to the extent that we have responded this quarter with an urgency to prioritize the progress of the governance and accountability pillar 1, alongside pillar 3, teaching curriculum and teacher training. The ministry is cognizant that the transformation agenda requires a strong legislative framework in tandem with robust training plans for the diverse human resource that exists at all levels of the system. Transformation is indeed possible as we partner with the private sector of this country and all our partners in education, to include our parents, our teachers, our school leaders, our volunteers at the governance level, our board chairmen. We are convinced that we will realize long before 2031 all of the positive outcomes that we envision for this country. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so very much for that overview. Very well done. And at this moment, we will invite to the podium our Honorable Minister, Mrs. Favour Williams. She will join us here, and we'll also open the floor to questions and answers.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Let me as well welcome everyone here this morning. Especially members of the media. You're always present to help us to carry the good news of education. But let me acknowledge our moderator this morning, Minister Marcia Smith, a State Minister in the Ministry of Education and Youth, Dr. Kassan Troop, who is here in the virtual space, our Chief Education Officer Acting, Ms. Terry-Ann Thomas-Gale, and of course, Dr. Adrian Stokes, Chairman of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee. You heard from him earlier on. And Mrs. Sophia Forbes Hall, thank you for that comprehensive presentation of the work that has been ongoing at the ministry and across its regions and in our schools. Let me acknowledge all the members of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, members of the ministry's executive management team, of course, Ms. Nicole Brown, our project lead, transformation officer, viewers or online from the ministry on the various platforms. Good morning again. It is a delight and a pleasure to be here reporting on the progress of education transformation. I am pleased with the embrace and progress of the program. I want to remind all Jamaicans that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We have an initial 8 years over which we will be implementing the recommendations. But I want to point out that for the pillar called infrastructure, that will be a longer period of time. We estimate 20 years for us to really touch each and every one of our schools with meaningful upgrade. You heard from Ms. Forbes Hall earlier on, some of the schools that are being worked on now, but the infrastructure work is pretty significant. It calls for us to invest billions of dollars in improving the infrastructure of our schools. And so I'm reminding Jamaicans that that is going to take a longer time to do, an estimated 20 years to really make the rounds in the school. I want to also say that when we talk about all the administrative things that we're doing, you might ask, what does this have to do with educational outcomes? And I would say everything. At the end of the day, we want to have happy teachers in our classrooms, and they have to feel comfortable in the space in which they're working, and hence the focus on infrastructure. They have to have resources at their fingertips. They have to know the technology to be able to interact with the students, and hence our massive initiative to bring connectivity to our schools, to ensure that our teachers have laptops, to ensure that all the computer labs in our high schools are upgraded, which they are, to ensure that at the primary level we begin to do what no other government has done, and that is to begin to establish computer labs in our primary schools as well. And I had the pleasure to visit a primary school in Manchester, Beth Abra Primary School, to see the lab, the work that our partner eLearning has been doing. And I can tell you, when those primary school students filed into the lab, when the door was opened, you could see them just dashing to their seats and already logging on to the laptops. The focus, the concentration was amazing to watch. And what was important as well, Beth Abra Primary School is one of the schools in which not only do they have connectivity to the schools, but they have Wi-Fi, which is part of the ministry's efforts to ensure that internet connectivity exists in all our classrooms across the education system as our push to ensure that our children are enabled technology-wise, because you know that there's so much available to them education-wise using a device that's connected to the internet. On whatever subject they want to learn more about, it is available, and we want to give them that access. And so with that, I want to pause here for any questions that you may have.
We have a question on that also. We do have a question online. Thank you for that. Keep them coming. This question is from Sashan Small from The Gleaner. How is the MOEY encouraging a greater use of technology in the teaching and learning process in teachers' colleges?
Absolutely. Our teachers' colleges are a part of the technology efforts as well. We are ensuring that our teachers who are in training, not just at our traditional teachers' colleges, but in institutions with teaching faculties, that they have access as well to a laptop, and that technology is a big part of the curriculum in the teachers' colleges, so that when those new teachers enter into the profession, they are already there. But let me add as well that for all the existing teachers in the system, or what we call in-service teachers, through the Jamaica Teaching Council, that has the responsibility for continual professional development, many courses, seminars for technology are provided to our teachers as well. Good morning.
Oh. May you speak to some of the strategies that are being implemented to increase numeracy and literacy in schools, especially primary schools? And are you satisfied with the number of CCTV cameras that are installed in schools across the island? Thank you.
All right, thank you for those two questions. Chris, I'll start with your last one in terms of the CCTVs that are installed. No, our goal or aim is to have all our schools with some number of CCTV installed. We have done an assessment of what exists in the system currently. We know how many there are at each school, how many are operational versus not. We've started a significant procurement to ensure that across the length and breadth of our system, that all our schools have access to that, because we recognize that it is part of the safety and security architecture that we must have at our schools to complement all the other efforts that we have to ensure safe space for our children. And I'm going to ask the CEO to help me in terms of the numeracy, but let me just say for literacy, which is an area that I've taken just very direct interest in. I know that currently in our system, we have 3 different methods at work in the system currently. 2 of them are provided by external providers, but of course, they're being deployed on our platform, so our teachers are trained in the methods to be able to utilize them with our children. And just recently, I had a chance to see one, which is called CLBL, Creative Language-Based Learning in Action. It's a literacy program primarily targeted for primary school students. There's also within the system Literacy 1, 2, 3, which has been developed by the ministry itself along with the professionals, and that we have been ramping up as well in our schools. We are seeing good results from those programs. At the high school level, I know we have our LEAP, Learning Accelerator program, which is also giving us good results as well. We need to ensure now that these programs are in more schools and that more teachers have access to them, because we can see the results that they deliver in a matter of months, not years. And numeracy.
Good morning, everyone. As it relates to numeracy, the Ministry of Education and Youth, our target will be focusing on more of a coaching model as it relates to how it is that we will be rolling out our implementation in relation to numeracy and mathematics. So we will be spending more time with our teachers in order to get them to appreciate the art of teaching math and subsequently numeracy. We will also be looking at putting more of hands-on material into the school, so we'll be putting more math kits into our primary schools and some of our secondary schools.
Thank you, CEO. What CEO did not say is that over the last year, as we looked at the grade 5 achievement test in our primary schools, knowing that those same students will be doing the grade 6, that this very targeted approach was deployed in terms of coaching, in terms of going in and into the regions, ensuring, right, yes, you could talk about it.
All right, thank you, Minister. We did this for all 4 core subjects. We're coming out of our grade 5 performance for 2023. We looked at schools that performed, that had 50% to 100% of their students at the beginning for these 4 core subjects: mathematics, language arts, science, and social studies. We did a series of retraining for our teachers where we looked at the specific areas within these subjects that the students were performing poorly in. And we did retraining for our teachers. We did the coaching where we were on the ground. Our mathematics and literacy coaches were within the schools guiding the teachers in these areas. We also developed our monitoring checklists. Transformation requires us to not only implement strategies, but to put measures of accountability. And we are very targeted in that with our interventions, where all interventions will have a monitoring component. And so that is what we used. We monitored on the ground, and we had our teachers and principals relating to us the issues that they were having, how it is that they were implementing the strategies that were deployed in the training sessions. And we saw the results at grade 6.
And we do have some more questions coming in. One is, can you address why children are leaving schools and are not reading? I think you kind of addressed that, but you can go ahead and do that as well. And we have another question from the Gleaner. Can the minister give an update on the pilot program for AC units in schools that was announced last year?
In terms of children who may be graduating from school and are not reading at their grade level, this obviously is something that we would like to eradicate from the system. And as we said earlier on, the interventions that we have in place, they are showing good results so far. And I know, given where we're starting from now in terms of our primary schools with these interventions and being more targeted about it, that we will begin to see, well, we are already seeing the improvements in terms of literacy and math subjects in our primary schools, and that will translate into better results for high school. We do not want to ever continue to have our children leave school and they're not reading at a level of adequacy, which we define as their grade level or better. So our efforts will remain targeted. We have the data. We know which students are struggling. We just need to continue to be intentional about the programs, to provide the intervention for those students. Again, we know who they are. We know which school, which class, and we will continue and expand on these intervention programs so that by the time they leave school, they are adequately prepared. And in terms of the air condition for schools, you may have heard me report that a contract was actually signed with a contractor some time ago to put solar panels on about 30 of our schools. That would enable us to do other things, such as look at the possibility of providing cooler spaces for classrooms. That contract, unfortunately, has not been implemented yet, and I've asked our National Education Trust to take a look at it. It's been a while in progress to understand what are the issues with the contractor, and if needs be, to go to the market again. I've also asked JCIF, because they help us in terms of building classrooms, to see what technology, what changes they can bring to the construction of schools that can help us to reduce the temperature in the classrooms. The National Education Trust, that is the provider of the major construction in our schools, they are also looking at how we can make changes to the construction of classrooms that will enable us to see more comfortable temperatures in the classroom.
Another question from the Gleaner. Considering the concerns of some parents regarding the cost of graduation ceremonies, will the ministry be revising the ban it placed on fifth form graduations in 2021?
So in 2021, when we launched the Sixth Form Pathways program, our aim our vision was that our students would seamlessly transition from grade 11 to 12 to 13, and then there would be graduation at the end of that. When we went out with that, many across the length and breadth of Jamaica did not like that idea. They loved the idea of their children graduating after grade 11, and so we had no problem with that. Graduations continue. I know that the cost of graduation has risen, and in our last press conference, we used moral suasion to say to providers of items for graduation to consider the pockets of parents. And so far, I have to say, I have not seen as many complaints as I did last year or so on. So I think the message went out. The graduations that I've attended, especially primary school graduations, students turn up in their uniforms. They don't have to wear gowns and whatnot. So I think our leaders, our school leaders, are paying attention. They're being sensitive to the cost of graduation, and it has moderated, I believe, as measured by WhatsApps and invoices that people would send to me to say, oh my gosh, look at how much I'm being charged. So I'm happy to see that.
Thank you so very much, Minister. And that puts an end to the question and answer segment. Do we have another question, Corey? No? That puts an end to it. Thank you so very much for your participation. Do remember that trend is not just for the Minister of Education. It's for everybody. We are all trending. We all have children. We are children. And so we are part of the process. We have 7 pillars of change, and we are not lagging in any. A job well done. On that note, thanks to everyone. Our Honorable Minister, Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, Ms. Marsha Smith, State Minister within the Ministry of Education and Youth, our Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kassan Troop, Mrs. Sarian Thomas Gale, our Acting Education Officer, Dr. Adrian Stokes, Chairman of ETOC, Ms. Sophia Forbes Hall, Chief Education Transformation Officer, members of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, members of the Ministry's Executive Management Committee, Ms. Nicole Brown, Project Lead Transformation Officer, members of the media, both here and online, and all our other viewers, thank you so very much for being a part of our quarterly press conference. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Oh, and I must say thank you so very much for signing and ensuring that everybody gets to trend with us.
Watch the trend, pick up the trend. This are the trend for all the youths them. Watch the trend, pick up the trend. TREND. Pick up the trend for education, teachers and the students. A fully bright future, yes, that are the new trend. Better governance, partner with the parents. Follow the big trend, elevate the youth them. Improve the schools, track performance, access and attendance. From infant, primary to university students. Turn up the skills training, full steam, we are getting. Follow the big trend, elevate the schools, yeah. Watch the trend, pick up the trend. This are the trend for all the youths them. Watch the trend, pick up the trend. TREND. Promote technology, yes, and better planning. Quality education, that's what should be trending. From principals to EOs, everybody winning. Follow the ministry, changing the system. Watch the trend, pick up the trend.
This is Trend, Transforming Education for National Development, a program designed by the Ministry of Education and Youth to transform Jamaica's education system for a brighter tomorrow.